Oo-De-Lally, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
Jacob Wile too.
And welcome to a very special 50th anniversary retrospective podcast on Robin Hood. Jacob, I just realized there's a typo in that thumbnail, buddy.
Oh, we don't where. Yeah, I'll fix it. I'll fix it real quick.
Okay. Like it's totally fine. If you could just if we could swap it out at some point during this recording so it's not locked onto that the whole time, or else it's going to bother the heck out of me. Anyways, how you doing tonight, Jacob?
I'm doing all right. Plus, I can change the thumbnail too.
Yeah, I know you can change the thumbnail. Yeah, all right. So,
but I'm doing Jacob, all right.
It's all good. Robin Hood 50th anniversary. It kind of just snuck up on us, man. We're really focused on A Bug's Life. That's coming up on, what is it, the 25th anniversary coming up?
Yeah, I believe so.
So we're focused on that. So this really was kind of hit us out of left field here, but it's an interesting movie, Jacob. For me, I have a very interesting relationship with this movie because literally I have seen video footage of myself around the age of preschool, where my parents asked me what my favorite movie is, and I literally cite this movie. So it was a childhood favorite, apparently, but it was one of those movies that I remember just having on rotation a million times. Just one of those that I just default to watching over and over again. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for it, but at the same time, Jacob, as I'm gonna kind of tell you in the background, there's some discourse about this movie, specifically the thing about the recycled animation. This movie really was an interesting kind of tipping point as far as I like the movie a lot, but it is. I don't know. For me, it doesn't look nearly as cheap as something like the Aristocats, where I feel like the cheap style actively hurts the movie. Basically, my thesis statement on this thing, now that I've rewatched it, and I rewatched it just last year for the Great Disney Ranking podcast, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. I really feel like this movie is Disney's ultimate hangout movie, and I mean that in a really good way. I feel like this movie's got a really chill vibe to it, a free-flowing structure. We're going to break it down, Jacob, but for me, one of the most interesting things about this film has always been the fact that it's kind of got this weird, it's almost an anthology, but it's technically telling a narrative, but it's very much episodic. I'm very fascinated by the structure of this movie. I really feel like it's got a tone and a rhythm and a pacing to it that's really unlike any other movie that Disney ever did. So yeah, I just think I feel like it's a really good Disney movie to put on at a party because it's definitely got a lot of merit to it, but it's mostly just chill characters and funny scenes, and you really don't have to pay that close of attention to the plot at any given moment. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think the trio of villains that we have is exceptional, from a comedic perspective. I mean, I really feel like the villains in this movie, I feel like Yzma and Kronk are pretty much the only Disney villains that are more ripe with comedic potential than King Richard and Sir Hiss. So
Prince John.
Prince John. Why? Yeah, King Richard is the good guy. I'm sorry. Although I do love how King Richard is the same voice actor.
Yeah.
That's always nice. Anyway,
Peter Ustinov has a talent.
He does. It seems like my in-law is an outlaw. All right. So ZNK Channel says, as someone who works at Pop Century and hears Oo-De-Lally every day, I appreciate it. Oh man, that's funny. November has always been a busy month for Disney anniversaries. Indeed. Code Geass, I'm sorry. I'm not a big Aristocats guy, man. I'm really not. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to take that up with someone because, yeah, I've never really been into Aristocats. I noticed this Robin Hood doesn't have a hood. He should be called Robin Hat. It is a very iconic hat.
That it is.
It's not as episodic as Aristocats, but it doesn't seem to gel as well as Jungle Book did. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's interesting. I feel like Jungle Book has more atmosphere to it, but it's in a very similar ballpark to Jungle Book, though. I'd say if any movie had a similar kind of chill hangout vibe to it, it would be Jungle Book. Let's see. Code Geass says Aristocats isn't really episodic. It has a good plot with the butler going from being loyal to being evil. Yeah, I agree. I've only watched that movie a couple times, but I don't really remember it being all that episodic. But I'm sorry, Code Geass. I'm terribly sorry. For me, I just kind of remember the movie being kind of dull. Don't hate me. I'm sorry. Anyways,
there's an interesting. Obviously, it's kind of funny. There's an interesting connection between Jungle Book, Aristocats, and this.
Yes, there's a couple interesting connections between.
The biggest one is obviously Phil Harris.
Of course. But there's also some animation that has been used in all three movies, ironically enough, which we'll get into with the recycled animation of it all.
Yeah.
Let's see. The only thing Aristocats has is a solid voice cast. Everyone wants to be a cat and a great running gag in House of Mouse. You don't have to read this. Well, I read it, Z&K. I read it. I'm sorry.
It's O'Malley and the Alley Cats constantly being fired by Mickey.
That's awesome, actually.
they're like a band.
Seriously, Disney, please put House of Mouse on Disney Plus. I feel like that's one of the few things that's still left where they really should, and there's no good reason why they don't.
I mean, trust me, I would love that too. It's like a recurring gag, the cat's being fired by a mouse. It's like showbiz.
Oh man, Code Geass. Ooh, that's strong words. That's strong words. Aristocats. It's the best Disney film from the 50s to 70s. Oh man, that is a take, Code Geass. I respect the take. I don't agree with it, but I definitely respect it. I'm sorry I cut you off, Jacob. I was just so shocked by the hotness of that take. It burned me.
I mean, everyone's allowed to have their own opinions on that, of course.
No, I know, of course, yeah.
For counting from the dark era to the pre-Renaissance, I think my favorite probably be Great Mouse Detective. To be perfectly honest.
Well, I mean, 50s to 70s, it's like you got some real heavy hitters in there. You got Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty.
I'm specifically referring to post-Walt.
Anyways. Okay, well.
I guess I can give my brief nostalgia.
Yeah, please do, Jacob. I'm sorry it's taken so long. We're almost 10 minutes in.
It's all right, but the thing is with me, it's like we didn't have all of the Disney VHSs at that point. We didn't have especially all the Walt era and even middle era classics. But one of them we did have was actually Robin Hood, and again, it's not something I watched until I was later in my life, and I had a TV with a VHS, and I was like, okay, I'll check out these old VHS tapes we have.
Mm-hmm.
It's and one of them I watched quite a bit was actually Robin Hood. I was always kind of fascinated by this story. I don't know, and I honestly can't explain why I was. So I can't explain why it appealed to me the way it did as a kid. I mean, more so than some of the others. I mean, because you said it's more maybe it's more relaxed pace. It's not as big and sweeping epic as some of the others were.
It's just got a real laid back vibe to it.
I mean, the funny thing is now I kind of now prefer those big sweeping dramas and everything. But in terms of my personal taste, and I said I rewatched this today as well, and I still found that I enjoyed many elements of it. But that's also more of a I hadn't seen as many of their movies at that point when I started watching it in the first place. But so I still have like fond memories, like popping this in my cassette tape and watching it a couple times. Like probably not as much as some of the others, but I still remember watching it fondly.
All right. And how do you feel about it, like, currently?
Like I said, currently I still found a lot of it. I still enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. Like, I mean, obviously there are some parts that were probably products of their time, budget, things like that. Things that are obviously more noticeable as you get older and have watched all the other films.
Mm-hmm.
but like I said, I still enjoyed it. Like I said, it's not something I'd go on my way to watch all the time now, but it's good for a rewatch every now and then.
Totally. All right. Well, I don't have like a ton of background, guys. I'm not like Dragon always comes prepared with like 10 notes of background or 10 pages of notes of background. So, for me, all I can say as far as background goes is this was definitely one of the very first Disney movies that Walt just had nothing to do with at all. Like Aristocats, he had signed off on. Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, that was some of the shorts in that were actually out during when Walt was alive. It was just a repackaging. The Rescuers, I'm honestly not sure. I don't think he had much to do with the Rescuers either.
I think you're like working on like a development phase in the '60s.
Okay, but I believe, Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this might be like the very first Disney movie that Walt had like no involvement in from top to bottom.
From what I understand, that is actually true.
So that's a really interesting kind of milestone in the studio. I do know that this movie is very infamous among like hardcore animation people, like honestly, mostly people that are actually in the industry, just because of the recycled animation. You mentioned it yourself, Jacob, but the Phony King of England specifically, I really like that song, but the actual like animation in the Phony King of England is, I have heard it described as basically like a best of Disney compilation, because it's like you've just got like literally every piece of animation in that whole song is just recycled, and it's really funny. And I also famously, Jacob, this is one of the things that sticks out to me about like the history of this movie. Tony Baxter, back in the day, he cited this movie as the reason why when Disney adapts attractions, like Disney adapts movies into dark rides, it's not about the characters, it's about the atmosphere. Because Tony Baxter was working on a Robin Hood dark ride way back in the day, and he just realized like literally all this is like, okay, we're going back out into the forest and then into the castle and then into the village and into the castle again and then maybe back into the forest. So yeah, I definitely remember this as far as like I do like the vibes and I do like the character work. And the backgrounds in this movie are fine enough, but it's definitely not the high point for sure. So,
Nah.
And then of course we do have some big names in this. This was one of the last movies that Don Bluth worked on. Of course, the last one was going to be Fox and the Hound, which was I believe that was the one after this one, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't think it was it. Like after Robin Hood was the Rescuers, if you don't count Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, okay. So Fox and the Hound was a little while. Huh. Okay.
Fox and the Hound came after the Rescuers.
Gotcha. My bad.
It is pretty close though. So it's into. And when this movie came out in '73, so it's like quite a bit of. So obviously they took a couple years to make.
Of course, we had the Black Cauldron in development as well during that time, which was just like that movie was just like a development nightmare for years and years and years. So very very turbulent time at the studio. Of course, after Walt's death, it was just a real question mark. I mean, you have to remember during that time specifically, the parks hadn't even really turned it around yet, because Tony Baxter very much was the man who kind of like resurrected the parks in a way with stuff like Big Thunder Mountain and Splash Mountain and all the great stuff that Baxter's worked on over the years. Indiana Jones Adventure, I mean, the list goes on. He really did develop like the second wave of Imagineering post-Walt. But this was a little bit like, I'm pretty sure Tony was working for Imagineering at this point, but this was like a little bit before the actual conceptualization of his big projects, like right before. So it was really interesting how this, there was a big challenge going on at the studio to kind of like rise out from Walt's shadow, and this was very much they were still very much in the what would Walt do era of the company.
And it doesn't help that like Wolfgang Reitherman was the director of this film too.
That's true.
I mean, of course, he was like one of Walt's guys.
Mm-hmm.
So,
although it does make sense that it has a very Jungle Book vibe to it.
And Wolfgang Reitherman did a lot of stuff after Walt died.
Sure, he did. He did. You're right.
Like he directed like majority of a couple of the features after that. Like he did Aristocats, this movie, and I don't know if he did Rescuers, but he was quite prolific at the studio.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just going to chat out some comments here. Kogias, Frozen turns 10 this month. Honestly, Kogias, I don't think we're going to do a podcast on it. Like, Dragon and I have already talked Frozen so much. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of passion for it right now. I'm honestly kind of burned out on Frozen. So I apologize for that. Let's see. The closest we have background is how its earliest roots is a character take on Chanticleer. Oh yeah, I do remember the Chanticleer thing.
Which funnily enough, Don Bluth would later work on.
I feel like the Chanticleer thing was very much where they got the idea of the anthropomorphic animation, which is like a big signature of this movie.
It probably explains Alan Adale.
And yeah, it probably does. Yeah, you're right. And Kogias, yes, you're right. This film is very big with furries. Very big with furries.
And it's also famous nowadays for actually inspiring Byron Howard to make Zootopia.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Like honestly, looking at it through the Zootopia lens, it is really interesting because, in its own way, this movie also does create like, I believe it's the first time that Disney dabbled in anthropomorphic animation for a full length feature, and so they really do go out of their way to, create a full world. And I love how all the animals like make sense for their roles within the story. So stylistically, I think the anthropomorphic lens is the coolest thing about this movie. Honestly,
it was their first animated film to entirely feature anthropomorphic animals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Regarding this is interesting, Z&K. I've never heard this before. The animator said they had that as a celebration of how far they've come since it was released when the company turned 50 years old. Z&K, I've always ever heard people shit on the recycled animation and say it was like a budget thing. So that's an interesting lens to look at it. I do like that theory. Because of course this is, it does make sense. We are at the big Disney 100. So this is the 50th anniversary. The dates do line up on that.
It is kind of interesting. I mean, I never thought of it like that, and I've always heard like this movie had a pretty low budget due to diminishing returns in the last few years. So, So I guess so. Either one probably makes sense.
Okay. Don still directed Small One 5 years after Robin, so he wasn't completely gone. I always forget that Small One is a Disney thing. I really do.
I haven't even seen that one.
It's solid. It's solid. It's an interesting little. It's very much Don Bluth's first, directorial debut. So it's an interesting watch in that regard.
Especially considering he was like supposed to direct Fox and the Hound.
Sure. Oh man. Oh god. Could you imagine if that was a Don Bluth movie through and through?
Well, the thing is, he didn't want to do it after he. Apparently, he didn't want to do it after he thought there was no passion in it. So
that was a very troublesome production. Yeah.
So and that's why he didn't direct it.
All right, Little Blue says, it's hard to believe that you realize Robin Hood came out the same year The Exorcist came out. Yeah, that is trippy to think about.
Which we just did a podcast on.
Yep. Okay. Kogia says, I'm sure this Robin Hood film is final, but the best adaptation of Robin Hood will be the Star Trek Next Generation episode, Cupid. I am not familiar with that episode, Kogias. I am sorry.
Me neither. Dylan Jones, happy 50th anniversary to Robin Hood.
Indeed. Happy to have you, Dylan. In 2025, you should do a 55th anniversary retrospective of the Aristocats. We probably will, but again, I'm probably not going to be that overly enthusiastic about it. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'm going to do a rewatch and be like, my God, I see it now.
I just like rewatched the intros. Like I just realized that the intro was actually sung by Maurice Chevalier.
Yeah.
And apparently they got him out of retirement to sing it.
All right. Worf, I protest. I am not a merry man. Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
That does sound like a good episode, to be honest.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into it. Do you want to start with the structure? Do you want to start with the characters? It can pretty much go either way.
I mean, whatever one you think would be best.
I tell you what, since the movie literally starts with like a rundown of like, it's basically like a curtain call of who the characters are going to be. Let's go through that really quick.
Of course, we start out with Alan Adale, the minstrel.
And Alan Adale, man, I really, he's always been one of my favorite. Sorry, he's always been one of my favorite elements of this movie. Oh my God, I'm making a lot of noise. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm like in a very cramped room, so every like movement I make is knocking shit down. Anyways, I always appreciated the fact that the narrator of the movie had an active role in the story, more or less. I mean, active is a little bit of a stretch, but he's present. He's there. He's doing stuff.
I mean, he does help put Sir Hiss in the ale.
Yeah. That's what that was probably my favorite scene with him. I freaking love how they use his guitar as a bow and arrow. I love that. I love that little bit.
I think that's more like a lyre, but not a lyre. But I don't think it's exactly a guitar. But
I also play the lyre. I'm sorry. He's down. Anyways,
I don't know what exactly the instrument.
It's like a mandolin or something. You're right. Yeah. It's not exactly a guitar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Z and K, by all means, bring up the connection to Alan Adale.
Alan Adale's like Clopin from Hunchback. How he exists as a character in universe and fourth-wall-breaking narrator out of universe.
That is a really good comparison, Z and K. I'm actually really impressed with that comparison. I never thought of it like that.
Okay, there's a credible connection regarding Roger Miller and Alan Adale.
Yeah.
Miller was a guest star in season 3 of The Muppet Show. In his episode, The Muppets all catch a case of clachitis, a disease that turns you into a chicken.
Oh my God.
At the end, he mentions he caught it once before, and Alan Adale just so happens to be a rooster. And then 2 episodes later that same season, the Muppets do a Robin Hood episode with Lynn Redgrave. Like Piggy said in GMC, what an unbelievable coincidence.
Yeah, that is pretty wild, actually, when you break it down like that. But yeah, Alan Adale is just a very, very chill character. I really like his vibe.
I mean, the whole chillness is basically emphasized by his line, like, I'm Alan Adale. That's a minstrel. That's an old-timey folk singer. Like, and my job is to tell it like it is, or was, or whatever.
Very 70s character, but I like it.
Sure, he's kind of a 70s, but he comes across as he's pretty timeless, if you ask me.
Okay, I found this.
For sure.
Check it out.
Anyways, let's see. So yeah, Alan Adale, I really love how he just starts things off. He sets up the story, and then we get into. We can split it up into like the groupings. So, Robin Hood and Little John, just classic buddies. Little John, very much. He's essentially Baloo. I mean, not like what I like about Little John that does separate him from Baloo is like the disguises and the performance part of him, which is fun. But like, let's face it, just design wise, attitude wise, he's pretty much Baloo.
He is Baloo, but Baloo is like obviously more of like a lazy, drifting through life kind of character.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like Little John is actually very proactive within the story, so I do appreciate that.
Like, obviously, the performance doesn't change much, but the overall characterization I do think stands out.
Mm-hmm. I think my favorite bit with Little John is just him, like, as the Duke, just... I mean, he is straight up getting his flirt on with Prince John. Just straight up, man. Go on, creepy. Get lost.
It's like, I am Duke of Chutney. It's like, and don't stick your tongue out at me, kid.
And then Robin Hood himself, I honestly don't have a ton to say about him. I just think he is a very likable main character, good design. I do like how his energy, you know, like I like the film's juxtaposition of like we'll see, you know, the hopelessness of the townspeople, and then he'll come in and brighten the day. I think the best example of that is probably the birthday party scene. So I do like that. I do like how every time we see him, it is very much like you feel him lifting the spirits of the townspeople. It's not just the financial side of it. It's more so, you know, he's giving them a symbol. He's giving them hope.
Yep. He's just a very good character. I mean, like, sure, he doesn't have like, I mean, he faces conflict. He doesn't really grow much as a character, but I mean, he's Robin Hood. I mean, he's just, you follow him as basically this like flat protagonist character who elevates the story.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a character that doesn't change as long as he drives the story forward in an interesting way.
Well, like the whole point of the movie is also just kind of like breaking down the legend of Robin Hood. So in that way, it's not like you're going to get a ton of character complexity out of him. You know, it's not like the movie's trying to be all like the Russell Crowe Robin Hood and be like, this is how it really happened.
It's like that's why like things like Prince of Thieves and even the Errol Flynn stuff is that's why a lot of people didn't even like the Russell Crowe one recently, because like it was just so dark and serious.
From this day forth, he will be known as an outlaw.
Like,
that's all I remember about the marketing for that movie is that one specific line, and I'm like, damn, dude, this is fucking Robin Hood, bro. Calm down. An outlaw.
But so it's like, so yeah, it's like all the story, like it's kind of nice to have like the whimsical tale of Robin Hood.
Yeah, but again, I kind of like how when Alan Dale starts up his story, it's not like his goal is to give you like a complete narrative. It's more so that he's painting a picture of the character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
So in that way, it's like like the film really doesn't have like a 3-act structure in the traditional sense, which is really interesting.
Like he's like telling different parts of the same story.
Right. Where it's more so like, for me, the way I read it is that, I mean, I don't know. Again, it's interesting. I do think that and we can break down some of the other characters as we go through the story, not to lose track of that. I do think that the crux of the structure is like, it's kind of like it's playing out two different ways. I feel like the main thing that it's trying to play out is, like I said, just giving you like the essence of the character, like kind of like why he's a legend, why he's, known all around the English countryside and whatnot. And I feel like I'm not really explaining it well, but you get the picture.
Yeah, I get the picture. It's like basically he's a folk singer telling the legend, and painting like why like Robin Hood is well beloved by the public, why he's like seen as an outlaw, like why he gives to the rich takes from the rich to give to the poor, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Code Geass, as far as a live action remake, just please no. I mean, look, if Disney wants to do its own thing with Robin Hood, like as a character, sure, fine. I mean, at this point with the studio's track record, I wouldn't have much faith in it, but sure.
I mean, if they could just do like an actual live action Robin Hood.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. But my God, if they want to go like the stupid like hyper realistic route with it, just please no, just please don't, please. I'm begging you. I'm legitimately begging you, please.
I don't think that's like part of their consideration. I think any of the Robin Hood stuff was more focused on the actual character, not the Fox version.
I think you're right.
I mean, and to be fair, I mean that story has been told as numerous times, and I think they even might have done something even before.
Well, another interesting thing is the fact that like the movie does start with the traditional like Disney storybook, but it doesn't really like even let you fully like it sets up the Prince John stuff on the very first page, but then the next page where it's setting up like Robin Hood and his merry men and stuff, it literally like doesn't let you read the whole thing. It like jumps right into like, yeah, that's the storybook version, but let me tell you the real version.
It's just funny that it actually shows a human version of Robin Hood in that picture.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so it's kind of an interesting subversion of what you come to expect if you've seen all those other book openings from the Disney films.
Mm-hmm.
So,
ZNK, I've never seen any of the Errol Flynn Robin Hood movies, so which one would you recommend?
I think was there only one?
Is there only one Errol Flynn Robin Hood?
Really? I mean, I thought there was only one, but I could be mistaken.
Okay. I'll have to look into it. To go along with my last comment, Peter also did Treasure of Matacumbe. Nice. Mm-hmm. Yes, Kogias, it would be funny if Russell Crowe was in the remake. It would be legitimately funny. I agree with you. I am the Sheriff of Nottingham!
Nottingham.
Yeah, it's just one from 1938. I don't think that was made a series. That's actually really interesting. I don't know why I just assumed it was a series, but
well, to be fair, a lot of films like Heroes and like that did actually get multiple films back then. So.
Right, but Errol Flynn is just so synonymous with Robin Hood that I am genuinely kind of surprised that.
I think it's just because his performance is so iconic.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to check it out actually, out of curiosity.
Yep.
Okay, if I'm correct, Robin Hood was the same time the last Disney film to open with a book until Enchanted. That sounds about right. Because Beauty and the Beast has the stained glass,
which is also great.
Mm-hmm. This adaptation of Robin Hood might sound strange, but it's still less odd than the cartoon series where Robin Hood was a hero in futuristic outer space called Rocket Robin Hood. Indeed. I also remember pretty distinctly that there is at least one episode of the 60s Spider-Man cartoon that's literally just an episode of Rocket Robin Hood with Spider-Man like self-inserted in.
Okay then.
All right, Stanley credited Errol Flynn as being the inspiration for making heroes of his own. That's awesome. I need to check that movie out.
All right.
I will make a point of it. Let's see. Same thing with Little John. Used more than Friar Tuck. Again, usually it's vice versa. I guess with all the merry men being stripped down to one. Yeah, that's another thing we definitely need to talk about with the structure is because Friar Tuck. What I noticed about Friar Tuck, Jacob, is that he is a very utilitarian character in this movie. Like, I like his personality. Like, I do think that the movie does a good job of getting across why the stakes are very high at the end when they're going to hang him.
Yep. Indeed.
But at the same time, he pretty much only pops up like in the in-between segment because, with the structure of the movie, it's kind of like you get like an episode, right? Like you get like Robin Hood and Little John robbing Prince John. Then you get a little interstitial with Friar Tuck, and then you get the archery tournament, and then you get another little interstitial. Or I'm pretty sure the Phony King of England comes right after the archery tournament, but then you get a little interstitial, and then you get the Not in Nottingham thing, and then you get another Friar Tuck thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, so it really does seem like Friar Tuck is kind of like the character that's moving the plot forward, and it's not that he has no personality; he has a lot of personality. But it's really interesting how he's not that present in the main story, all things considered.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. It's like Friar Tuck isn't that much. It's not important of a character, but he is a very good catalyst of it. And plus, it does feel Robin Hood's sense of justice. Like he can't let an innocent man die.
And on the same level, I also love what breaks Friar Tuck, Jacob. For
Stealing
me,
from the
one of
poor
the most
box.
memorable quotes in the whole movie is, "But that's the poor box."
Yep.
I don't know why that delivery is just iconic for me. That's the poor box. I don't know, but it is such like I think we'll get into the villains soon, but the villains in this movie are so deliciously petty. And honestly, Jacob, the themes of like the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, I'm just gonna say it, they're pretty fucking relevant in 2023. Am I right?
Not really.
Oh, come on. You gotta. I'm not stretching for a political take here. I'm just saying, like, the struggles of like, with the rich, like, yeah, screw it. We're just gonna nickel and dime some more out of you guys. I don't know. Like, for example, I'm reminded of Disney's attempts to nickel and dime at the parks, where it's like, yeah, you know what? All the stuff that used to be free and just a part of the experience, we're gonna charge for it now. I don't know. Just a little observation.
All right.
Okay, some more comments. Kogia said Phalis did a video comparison between Rocket, Robin Hood, and Spider-Man episodes. Yeah, that's a really interesting piece of trivia there. Yeah, the church scene is very good. Let's see. Okay, Little Blue says, I thought I mentioned this about Prince John. He starred in a book, The Emperor's New Clothes. And Honest John and Gideon played parts of the two who gave him invincible clothes. That's interesting.
I think he means invisible clothes.
Invisible clothes, yeah. I could see that. That's interesting.
It is.
So you're saying it was basically like a Disney children's book adaptation of The Emperor's New Clothes that used like different anthropomorphic animals to tell the story. That's cool.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting.
All right, Jacob, I have a point that I do want to bring up about this movie.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it since I was a kid, and I'm curious if you have the same reaction. You know how a lot of movies we always go on and on about the food animation in Disney movies?
Yeah, we do that quite a bit in everything we discuss.
Well, I think this movie has incredibly satisfying money animation.
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't it?
I mean, the gold coins flying to the especially when Little John is like doing drilling a hole in the bottom, and he's like, and he's
that bit with the hole like really sticks out to me, Jacob. I think the movie does such a good job of like establishing, just how poor everyone is and how valuable that gold actually is.
My gold.
I do distinctly remember the scene where Robin Hood is kissing the rings. When I was a little kid, I straight up thought the rings were ring pops, Jacob. I straight up thought they were ring pops.
And then Little John just like kisses them, and he like smiles at Hiss with them in his mouth.
Oh my God.
Gotta admit, they give good characterization to these little subtle moments that the characters do.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The character animation is on point.
So with that in mind, let's break down, for me, I think, the two big stars of the movie, which is Prince John and Hiss, because my God, they have a fun dynamic, Jacob.
Like Prince John is the spoiled little lion boy, basically. Spoiled little rich boy who's like taxes, wonderful taxes.
Prince John's laugh, Jacob. That laugh will just live in my head rent free for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And of course, like Sir Hiss as his beleaguered assistant.
It's
like, And I just
But I like how Hiss is like, out of the two of them, he is the competent one of the two.
yes, but
But the physical, obviously, he has physical limitations. So that's just a really good, like, comedic setup right there.
And speaking of good, like, character animation, one that's always gets pushed around, gets like pointed out on the internet is like when he like folds his body over to look like pouting arms.
yeah, for sure.
It's like snakes don't walk; they slither. So bad. Oh, I just love it.
Okay, Z&K says just this jingling sound effect alone is so satisfying. Yeah, no, for real, dude. Like every time we see coins in this movie, it is like the most satisfying. Like sound and visually, I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks so.
Like even when like the sheriff of Nottingham, who we'll also get into, even when he throws a coin down to the beggar's cup and just grabs the coins in midair.
Right.
It's like you can even like hear the coins clinking out of the cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's so petty, but that jingle is just oddly satisfying, as Z&K points out.
All right, Prince John is the real first Disney gay character, and no one will convince me other. I mean, straight up, I literally just rewatched the movie right before we went on, and yeah, you are not wrong at all. I mean, I don't know, man. It was the 70s. I don't even really think they were trying to be subtle about it. He just is that. But the thing is, it's like, unlike today, where like we can't do that kind of thing without people getting riled up with politics one way or another, and frankly, I think both sides are a little extreme. I think it's extreme to be like, no, you can't have gay characters in a Disney movie, no. But I also think it's a little extreme to be like, yes, prop it up, oh my god, yes, put it on a goddamn pedestal. Frankly, I think they just characterized Prince John as gay, and didn't make a big deal out of it, and that's kind of how it should be. And for anyone who thinks we're just reaching, again, watch all the stuff with Little John as the Duke. Man, if that is not gay flirting, I do not know what is, Jacob.
I think it's just him putting on airs.
Okay, Kokios, that is an interesting question of is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, it doesn't really, if considering he's the bad guy, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if he's the bad guy or not, in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's a good thing or a bad thing. I agree with you, Jacob. I think it's... let's just say, I don't personally buy that myself, but let's just say he is for the time being. Like, even if he is gay, it doesn't, and the fact that he's gay and evil doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I mean, just because you're a certain sexuality doesn't mean you're automatically good or evil. I agree.
I mean, I'm not doing that, and that's about as political as I'll get in this thing.
But and look, I mean, I'm probably like over exaggerating just how intentional it was, but man, it feels pretty coded to me. He's more
sissy than anything else.
I guess so. Yeah. All right. Little John says Prince John and Sir Hiss are right next to Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. A villain and the psychic having funny chemistries. Yeah, they're right up there. Again, I would feel like they're a little bit ahead of Captain Hook and Smee as far as the chemistry goes, but then Yzma and Krunk are like at the top tier. I would say that's kind of how that breaks down.
Ellie be like, what a weird conversation to walk into.
Well, it is Robin Hood, LEB. I don't know what to tell you. It is Robin Hood. It's Disney's Robin Hood, the movie that birthed a million furries.
Anyway. But
speaking of which, you want to break down Maid Marian?
I didn't know if we were done with the Prince John yet and Hiss.
I feel like I've pretty much said my piece on them. I mean, I think they work extremely well. The voice acting is just iconic.
Peter Ustinov gives a great performance. I mean, basically, it's kind of interesting that I don't really know a lot about Ustinov, but I don't think he really plays a lot of whiny characters like Prince John is.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, this isn't one of his better known roles, but you can tell he had a bit of fun with it.
Okay, and with the flamboyant thing, it's like it's not just the flamboyant thing; it's the chemistry with Hiss, and then again, also like the big thing for me was the interactions with the Duke. And I'm not saying it negatively at all. I'm just saying like if that was like what they were leaning into, they don't like it's it's not like trying to be. I don't know. It could be, or it's most likely nothing. I'm probably digging myself a hole here. I'm sorry.
So I was like, so speaking of which, yeah, Maid Marian and everything. Maid Marian is very popular. Member Saber Spark ranking her high in his furry tier ranking.
Nice sighting. Nice sighting.
Most Disney villains are a bit fruity. IMO.
That's true. That's true.
When you read my last comment, you said Little John, not Little Blue.
Okay, that's funny. Yeah, Maid Marian is very, very popular among the furry fan base for sure. But she also comes attached with one of my personal favorite movies in this, personal favorite characters in this movie. I'm sorry, which is Lady Cluck, Jacob.
Lady Cluck is great.
I love Lady Cluck, man. Her animation, I feel like, is one of the most expressive characters in the whole movie. I really feel like she's kind of underrated in that department.
Of course, she does get a huge moment to herself when she basically takes down the Rhino guards during like the freaking football fight song. I mean, they straight up used like a school march for that scene, I think.
Oh.
I mean,
So yeah, she's a big standout. I do think that. What do you think of the whole thing where Robin Hood and Maid Marian have already had like a little fling, and then Maid Marian went to London, and there's a little bit of a will they, won't they? Like, for me personally, like I like where it pays off with with her recognizing him at the archery tournament and that little moment they have. So I like that payoff, but for me, I feel like like, again, this kind of speaks to the episodic structure. I really don't like how we're introduced to Maid Marian just through the kids. I feel like it's a little clunky and awkward. It's just like, okay, like, we got to have Maid Marian and Robin Hood, like, not together at the start of the movie. And we need to establish Maid Marian's character. But for some reason, we can't just have a scene of Maid Marian and Lady Cluck. We have to like randomly insert these children into the equation. I don't know, Jacob, but did you have more thoughts on that? Because for me, it's always kind of been like one of the clunkiest scenes in the movie.
I mean, yeah, I'll agree. It is quite clunky, but it does kind of like tether a connection between like Robin Hood, the kids, and Marian. Like it's like a through line between them.
You're not wrong about that.
I mean, I won't deny the execution probably could have been cleaned up a little bit.
No, but I do like what you're saying, though. I do like what you're saying. Where every character, like,
Seize the fat one.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Okay, ZNK says the romance between Robin and Marian feels a bit flat. Falls into the show don't tell. Yeah, I feel like the big thing about the show don't tell is the whole like the tree with the initials. It's very much like, see, this thing happened, this important thing happened that we're telling you about. But again, I like for the very brief screen time that they do get when they're actually together, I do like their chemistry.
And of course,
the knowing looks that they give each other and the longing stares and everything. I don't know. It's nice.
I mean, mainly during like the love song.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and again, I also like the reunion at the archery tournament where where she recognizes him under the mask. I thought that was a very nice moment.
Even after not seeing him, having seen him for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine Homer's reaction to watching Robin Hood with his kids in Millhouse. He'd look at the turtle and go, "Hey, he looks just like you, Poindexter." Because Toby is practically Turtle. Yeah. Oh, God.
That would be funny.
Homer would be a good Friar Tuck. I could see that.
And who would be Robin Hood?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know.
Obviously, it'd be a satirical take on it, so.
I mean, Bart maybe.
And of course, Mr. Burns would be Prince John.
Oh yeah, Prince John and Sir Hiss would be Burns and Smithers, like no question, no question.
No, I mean
that pretty much like I would not be surprised if The Simpsons actually borrowed that dynamic for Burns and Smithers. It feels very similar.
It's like I'm surprised Simpsons haven't done Robin Hood yet.
I'm also a little bit surprised, C&K, now that you mention it.
I mean, if anything, it would be more like an actual retelling of the legend rather than drawing specifically from this.
Yes, you're right, but I do feel like they would randomly just have Smithers as a snake as a reference to this. Like, everyone else is just a human, but Smithers, for some reason, is still a snake.
And of course, Chief Wiggum would be the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Oh, that's perfect, yeah.
Even kind of sounds like Pat Buttram a little bit.
Speaking of which, Sheriff of Nottingham is another, like, excellent character. I feel like while Prince John and Sir Hiss are great comedic foils, I think the Sheriff of Nottingham is the real character that you can just, like, he is a straight-up dick through and through. Like, he's an entertaining dick, but he is, like, you do genuinely hate him. Whereas you kind of like Prince John a little bit, you know what I mean?
All the villains, like, you love to hate them.
Right, yeah.
I mean, like, the Sheriff of Nottingham, especially because, like, you can tell he takes sadistic glee in just, like, taking all the coins and everything from
the moment where he does the trick where he, like, throws the coin into the Baker cup and like ricochets the other coins out. It's like, oh my god, like, how petty do you have to be, dude?
I mean, the pettiness is already kind of shown when you, like, tap the Smith's leg out of, like, to get the last coin out. Like, the broken
right, and they're literally stealing a child's single coin as his birthday present.
And using that child's coin to get the coins out of the Baker's
exactly.
cup.
I love how horrified the mother rabbit is at that.
I mean, they didn't know none of them knew that Baker was actually Robin Hood, so as far as they know, he just robbed an innocent blind man.
ZNK, that is interesting. What you're saying about Prince John is not a major character. I didn't really know that.
They did have Smithers in their lousy Harry Potter parody.
Oh God!
I'm guessing that was like in one of the Treehouse of Horror segments.
I'm guessing that Burns was Voldemort and Smithers was Nagini. I'm guessing that's how that worked.
Yeah, it's like the Treehouse of Horror has gone from basically just being parodies from actually like being like putting effort into their parodies. It's like, oh hey, look, pop culture references off the wazoo.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like the latest Treehouse of Horror they did was pretty good.
I think like I think the one that I liked, the recent one, was the Death Note inspired one.
That one was really good. Yeah, that honestly, that whole Treehouse of Horror episode, I felt like all three segments were pretty on point.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but yeah, the Sheriff of Nottingham, like, it would have been interesting to see more of him, especially considering Z&K's point.
But I do think that like visually he's very intimidating. I honestly feel like he's more of a presence in the climax than Prince John is when you think about it. Because he's all over the actual jail break-in where they have that whole, the whole heist scene where they're trying to.
I mean, he's the one who's basically enforcing Prince John's
right, and then he's actually the one that Robin Hood like physically gets into a confrontation with at the end too.
Between like Prince John and Robin Hood, Prince John is just more like an inconvenience more of an inconvenience. And let's face it, Prince John is more of a danger to Hiss than he is to Robin Hood.
This is true.
But the Sheriff of Nottingham actually puts up a pretty good fight against Robin Hood. Even though he does have his moments, like, I can see through Robin Hood's disguises. when he's literally talking to Robin Hood.
Right. Love the design. The design is like genuinely kind of intimidating.
Like he's a big, tall wolf, but he's also kind of girthy.
Right. There's a few girthy characters in this movie. It makes me feel represented, Jacob.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Talk.
Yep.
Little John.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see. Pat Buttram and George Lindsay previously voiced two dogs in the Aristocats. Buttram, I don't know about George Lindsay, but Buttram voiced quite a few things. I know one of his most famous roles for Disney was Chief in Fox and the Hound, a character that very much should have gotten killed off, but didn't for some reason. But I digress. That's just the main thing I think of when I think of that character is like, yeah, you should have killed him off. Can you imagine how much higher the dramatic stakes would be than they already are in that movie? And they're already pretty high. I mean, he gets hit by a train, Jacob. He gets hit by a train and falls off a fucking bridge into a river.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Anyways,
I've seen.
Want to emphasize that again.
I've seen the movie.
God.
I've seen pretty much all of the classic movies.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Even though I don't remember all of them clearly.
Bill Farmer saying Pat Buttram has always been one of his favorite celebrities to do.
No wonder he voiced
him in House of Mouse.
Yeah.
It is a very fun old school celebrity voice for sure. It's very distinct.
And his voice for Hop Pop and Amphibious, the guy has traces of Buttram in there.
I could see that. A little bit. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not a 1-to-1.
It's not an impression, no. But I see what you're. I know what you're talking about, though.
But I can kind of see it like being similar to it. And speaking of which, he's actually coming to my convention in December. I'm going to actually go see him.
Nice.
Yep, Bill Farmer's going to be there.
I know he came to the Walt Disney Family Museum when I was working there. I just didn't get a chance to go to that event, unfortunately.
I'm just trying to figure out what to have him sign because I don't have anything related to a Goofy movie, unfortunately, because I don't have the VHS for it anymore. But I have like a Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway mug, which has him on it, so has Goofy on it, so I might have him sign that.
You should get like a Goofy movie T-shirt.
I'm trying to avoid having shirts signed because I like to wear shirts.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, and you don't want to wash it. Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's like preserving it. I mean, it would just be more trouble. Like,
I had Cheech Marin autograph a Lion King shirt.
There's nothing wrong with having shirt signs. It's like it's just not my thing.
Yeah. Like, honestly, that shirt is like too small for me now, so it is just kind of like a decorative piece.
I mean, it's nothing. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that because people like frame shirts all the time. So I'm just saying it's not my thing. But they said I like it's like what they said. The thing I'm like leaning towards is like a school from the Mickey's Mini Runaway Railway. I got a mug when I went to Disney World a couple of years ago, and it's like on the side of it has Goofy coming during the train.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I don't know how well ceramic and Sharpies or even paint, even paint pens work. So, plus I would have to carry a ceramic mug around for hours, and there's obviously issues with that.
Kokia says you should have him sign a farming outfit.
That would be kind of funny, I guess. I mean, right now I'm just leaning if either I can procure like a DVD or Blu-ray of Goofy movie, or
I can't imagine it'd be that hard to secure a DVD or Blu-ray of Goofy movie. I imagine those are pretty readily available.
I know, but like I said, I don't currently have one. I said I don't because I would have loved to have my VHS signed, but I don't have it right now.
Sure.
Like, or just a glossy that he has.
If I bought a Power Lime from Runaway Railway, but I did open it. But if I still had that, I would legitimately I would send it to you so you could get it signed.
Well, check your local FYE or Barnes and Noble. Or I could just get it off of Amazon or something.
I mean, that's probably going to be your easiest bet if I'm being honest.
Yep. I mean, like I said, I know it's not too hard, and it's it's December 1st, so I have plenty of time. So.
Oh.
But enough about prospective things to get signed. we need to continue our discussion of Robin Hood.
Yeah. So for me, my favorite scene in the movie, the Friar Tuck scene is definitely a standout for sure because of the, my favorite quote. That's the poor box. But I really like the archery tournament, Jacob. I feel like that is where the strongest stuff in the movie is. I feel like that's where a lot of the most memorable stuff in the movie is.
And how Prince John's actually a legitimate threat in that too, because he's able to just easily deduce like, oh, that really good archer is Robin Hood.
Right, exactly. It is like the most competent that Prince John is the whole movie for sure.
And Robin Hood only really gets away because he was.
Because Little John literally threatens to stab Prince John in the back if he doesn't.
Exactly.
Which I must say is a pretty gangster move for a Disney movie.
It's like, and as much as it's pretty clear that as much as he wants Robin Hood dead, he still has a very good sense of self-preservation.
Sure. But it is some pretty high stakes. It's just like Robin Hood is discovered right off the bat and just he's sentenced to instant death.
Like instant or even immediate death.
God. Also, can we talk about how awesome of a design Robin Hood as the stork is?
It really bleeds well into a disguise. Like he looks like I just look like the stog away and moves every time he, like the long spindly legs, like the beak.
Jacob, I'm not sure if it was you or Dragon. It could have even been Monkey when he went to D23. But I know that I saw at least one picture of someone cosplaying as this particular design, which I love.
Well, it definitely wouldn't have been me.
Okay. It might have been Dragon. Again, it also could have been D23 because that I could see... if someone's going to go that hard into a relatively obscure reference, it would be at D23.
Yeah, and of course, I've never been to D23.
Right. Robin Stork outfit reeks of Don Bluthisms. From a design-wise, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
But no, I love the action. I love the way that the rhinos and the elephants are utilized in this scene.
Yep. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Lady Cluck's taking them all down with the football style moves.
Yeah. It's just a very kinetic, fun scene. I do feel like as far as fun action and comedy goes, it's pretty much the centerpiece of the whole movie, I think.
It's definitely pretty interesting, memorable set piece for sure.
All right. And then, like I said, Jacob, that love song it's pretty generic as far as Disney love songs go, but I think it's nice. I like the atmosphere, and again, I think the animators do a good job of capturing that feeling of longing when Robin Hood and Maid Marian stare into each other's eyes. I think that's done well. I don't know. I like the vibe.
Yep. Speaking of songs, Not in Nottingham is obviously a standout for very different reasons.
Well, let's talk about Phony King of England first, really quick. I mean, I know we kind of brought that up with the recycled animation, but what do you think of the actual song?
The actual song is actually quite a lot of fun.
I think it's a jam, man. It might be my favorite song on the whole soundtrack, honestly.
It's a great song. It's fun, bouncy. Obviously, it's taking a lot of pot shots at John and Hiss. It's basically trash talking.
Was the love song used in Fantastic Mr. Fox, E&K? That's a really cool pull. That's a really interesting reference. Nice.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Really? I'm surprised you haven't seen that one.
Yeah, me too. I don't usually watch it. Wes Anderson doesn't really do a lot of... I really don't watch a lot of his stuff, but that is a Wes Anderson movie.
Fair enough, but I feel like if you would get into any Wes Anderson movie, it would obviously be that one.
Yeah, it surprises me too, and I know it's on Disney Plus now, so I could easily watch it.
Oh man, I feel like watching it right now. Obviously not right now in the middle of the podcast, but...
Yeah, I think it is on Disney Plus. I can double check that real quick. But like I said, it honestly does surprise me too that I haven't gotten to it yet. I mean, I've heard really good things about it.
A lot of people think a lot of people have it as their favorite Wes Anderson movie, which I can definitely understand.
Yeah, let's see.
You'd think that American and English aesthetics would clash, but they really don't. They seem to complement each other well, like a Renaissance fair during a county fair. Yeah, totally. And also just Alan Adale being like a 70s folk singer and also like, like an old school Renaissance musician. Yeah, it does vibe really well. I agree.
Yeah, Mr. Fox is not on Disney Plus, actually.
Isle
of Dogs is.
Little Blue just said, Little Blue, are you lying to us? Are you lying to us, Little Blue? Are you trying to deceive us?
No, it's not on there. I'm looking at Disney Plus right now. It's like, and Isle of Dogs is on there, but
I'm not big on Isle of Dogs. I'm really not.
But that's another Wes Anderson stop motion movie, right?
Yeah, but it's not nearly as good as Fantastic Mr. Fox.
But I thought it was.
Well, it's on Max, Jacob, if that helps.
I mean, that is a Fox movie, right?
What?
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, I'm sorry. That question threw me off.
I know.
I was like, wait, are you asking if Fantastic Mr. Fox is about a fox?
Yeah, I mean, it was released by Fox.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yep, there it is. It's on HBO Max. I'll add that to my list.
Is a fish sandwich shaped like a fish? Little rocket power reference there. Anyways. Rumors state that this is the same universe as Zootopia, but in the past. I don't buy that, but it's very much. I can see it's very much inspired by, Zootopia was very much inspired by it. I can see that.
I mean, there's a key difference in the fact that the creators of Zootopia explicitly mentioned that reptiles there aren't any reptiles in the world of Zootopia.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences if you really break it down.
And there are obviously quite a few reptiles in this movie. So, I mean, so I think that's just more like a rumor.
The one really deep voiced alligator.
Attention, everyone! I love that guy.
I feel like that guy's also been in a few Disney movies.
Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me either.
I'm gonna look that guy up.
I mean, there's probably only so many variations Disney on that era did of alligator designs.
This is true.
I mean, between alligators.
Oh, interesting. Apparently, Don Bluth actually voiced the elephant guards.
Huh. I had no idea. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what else has this guy done? I really feel like he's been in other Disney movies.
Who?
His name is Candy Candido.
Oh, he was also Fidget in Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, that makes sense. Also, he was the willow tree in Great Mouse I'm sorry, not Great Mouse Detective. Wizard of Oz, the Angry Apple Tree, I should say.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit.
I was the willow. Oh no, Jacob. Oh no. Yeah. He was Maleficent's goon, but he was also in Peter Pan.
Yeah, the Little Blue's pointing it out.
Oh God, I hate that Peter Pan character so much. I mean, it's like I think it's honestly pretty blatantly the most racist thing that Disney has on Disney Plus. Like pretty blatantly. I don't even really think it's close.
Well, that's why there's a warning in front of it.
I know. I legit. I am kind of surprised that they got away with just having a warning in that particular. And you know what pisses me off about this character and why I hate him so much is that I love the rest of Peter Pan. That's what makes it so fucking frustrating. Like the rest of Peter Pan is such a good movie, but that particular element is so bad, so dated.
At least it's only a small part of it.
I mean, not really, though, because it's a pretty pivotal, the whole, like, I mean, yeah, what makes a red man red? The actual song is a small part, but, like, they have a pretty significant role to play in the actual plot of the movie.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, God. They didn't ban Peter Pan, but they banned Spider-Man and his amazing friends just because Red Skull's a Nazi? That's ridiculous.
I mean,
Yeah, no shit, Red Skull's a Nazi. No shit. Okay, if it's any consolation, at least even the 9-year-old, the 9-old men, I'm sorry, the 9-year-old, the 9-old men admitted was poor taste, so at least they're on our side. Yeah, no, it's, the red man is just always, it's always been a tricky thing with Peter Pan, man. Anyways, I don't want to turn this into a political thing.
yeah.
And you know what, Little Blue? I'm not even going to argue with you. The song is kind of catchy, and that's even more frustrating.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
All right, so now that, like I said, do we have anything more to say about the phony King of England?
No, it's just a really fun vibe.
Like, and then what about Not in Nottingham? The complete opposite.
Obviously, that's like the big standout as far as like, a serious song.
It's literally the exact opposite.
I know, right? Okay, we have to break this down. What do you think of the contrast? Like, this to me was probably like the sloppiest moment in the whole film from like a structural point of view. Is basically the idea that like not phony King of England happened. It basically goes viral, Jacob.
Yeah.
It basically goes viral, and everyone in the town is singing it.
Even the sheriff and his
right. And then that's what leads to like everyone in town getting imprisoned because of the tripling of the tax. I mean, that is a little bit like that is a sloppy point A to point B. Am I right?
Well, I mean, I think it just comes across as showing like how extremely petty and insulted by the whole thing Prince John is.
I guess so. For me, I kind of think that, like, I get the concept. I'm just saying, like, it just feels very rushed.
I mean, I don't doubt it, but I don't doubt that. But I see where you're coming from on it.
All right. Okay, if it makes you feel any better, it takes place in a Neverland. Their universe, so maybe it's traditional about Redman. What? I don't even understand what you're trying to say, Lucas. I'm sorry.
I don't get that one either.
Are you saying that because Neverland is another dimension, that in that dimension the red men are not racist? Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Lucas. I don't mean to put you on the spot there.
All right.
Or are you saying that, like, in the universe, I think what he's trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas, I think what you're trying to say is that in the universe of Neverland, the red men just literally have straight red skin and it's not like a racist stereotype. Sure. I think that's what you're trying to say.
He says, sure.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lucas. Okay, if it was just under humiliation alone and no taxation, that maybe flow easier. Yeah, for sure.
All right then.
But it is a little rushed in the final movie. But yeah, Not in Nottingham. I do really love that Alan Dale just straight up breaks the fourth wall. Like, yep, I'm in here too.
Yeah.
And then just goes right into the song.
Yep, it's like the song is like very notable for like how like bleak and soul crushing it is.
It really is, man. I mean, every line of the lyrics is just like pretty hopeless.
Yeah, it's like the sheer hopelessness of the whole thing is like not a lot of Disney songs, even the sad ones, don't really go into like the sheer hopelessness of that song. It's like
honestly, I could think of one that's even darker, which is Someone's Waiting for You from The Rescuers, which is all about like literally the premise of that song is just like, don't worry, little one, you might be in a terrible situation, but you have hope. Which I guess like this is darker just because it is very literally like a song about hopelessness. But that song, just the context of like, a kidnapped child, like, thinking about, their mother and father waiting for them back home, even though they can't get back home. That song has always emotionally fucked me up, Jacob. It really has, even when I was a little kid.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's not exactly a pleasant situation and everything.
And I feel like Not in Nottingham is like, the lyrics are bleak, but it's still a folk song. You know what I mean? You still get a little bit of rhythm to it. Whereas Someone's Waiting for You is just like, the melody is just straight up depressing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like in terms of that, Not in Nottingham is probably more melancholy.
Okay, Z and K, I love this observation because, buddy, I didn't even fucking see the Rescuers movie until last year for the great Disney ranking podcast. That Under the Sea sing-along video is actually exactly where I know that song from my childhood. And you are absolutely right. It is a total fucking buzzkill of an ending. What the hell were they thinking ending with that? I love that observation, Z and K.
It's like, under the sea, it's like, someone's waiting for you.
Someone's waiting for you.
It's just like total whiplash.
Oh, Z and K, you have no idea how much validation I feel right now. That's, oh my god. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because it's like, I feel like with a lot of the sing-along songs, it's hard to do a podcast on the ones that are just like, you know, like the song compilations. But like, yeah, sometimes they would just have some straight up really weird choices in there like that. Oh man.
Yep, basically. I remember having some of those sing-along videos at my grandma's house.
I mean, of course, Disneyland Fun will always be the most iconic to me. Like, it's not even close.
I think that was one of them.
Uh-huh.
I think one of them also is like a Christmas one, and also like a camp, like a camp one.
Yeah, they definitely had a camp one. I remember that one. They definitely had a Christmas one.
Like, I think those are the ones we had. I don't remember all of them, but I do remember watching those over at her house. That was a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to see if Someone's Waiting for You was nominated for an Oscar.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh. The Mickey's Fun songs could be a retrospective themselves. Z and K, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that we've done a podcast on the circus episode of Mickey's Fun songs. I'm pretty sure.
No clue.
All right. Okay, let's see. What else do we need to break down, Jacob? I kind of feel like we've already talked about a lot of stuff here.
Hey, what about the ending?
Well, first of all, we get the implied death of Robin Hood, which is like pretty dark in its own right.
Yeah. Like,
you know what I think is a really interesting kind of contrast that
what?
No one ever brings up?
What?
The fact that in the Jungle Book, the Phil Harris character is the character that has the implied death, and in this movie, he's the character that's like witnessing the implied death. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of an interesting contrast.
It is interesting. Now that you mention it.
And just really quick, I've already kind of brought it up, but I do genuinely love the climax of this movie. I think everything from sneaking around the sheriff and all the stuff with the sheriff and the vultures is great.
I know why my mama called you nutsy.
I love the system that Robin uses to get all the money from the towers. That it's so clever.
It's like using,
and again, very satisfying money animation.
Like just tying those little sacks to the rope.
Yeah. And then just like the chase scene, of course, Jacob, the iconic moment. Mommy, wait for me. Iconic.
Yep, and it's like Robin goes back to save Tagalong.
Uh-huh.
I think that's actually the kid's name is
Is that
Tagalong.
really the kid's actual name?
I think that's what they. I think that's what they called her anyway.
That's crazy.
But he goes back to save the Tagalong kid and gets her to safety, but ends up getting got by the gate himself. And him climbing up the gate was actually a pretty intense scene.
It is. Like, I love how he's I mean, the whole climax where he's literally climbing the tower that's being engulfed by flames. Like, I kind of mentioned that the backgrounds in this movie, for the most part, are a little bit like, they're not bad, but they're not really distinct either. But I feel like all the background animation budget was used in this sequence with the fire and everything.
Even if it's just like a bunch of bright oranges and a bunch of lines, it has a sense of atmosphere, as you pointed out. and like the scene where Robin Hood is fighting the sheriff in the lit up room. It's like you can tell he's like Robin's actually fighting for his life.
Yeah, totally.
And
let's see. Z. Okay, I'm gonna mention Z and K here. First of all, this is stupid. But I don't even remember the Disney Fake Out Deaths podcast. I straight up don't even remember that. It sounds like something that would be really fun to do, though. So my memory is awful. But Robin does get injured and taken to the church. Marion is healing him, and Prince John follows, driven to the point to stab them both. But King Richard shows up. He verbally disowns his brother and reigns the crown. Yeah, I do remember hearing about that. I do remember hearing that King Richard did come in at the climax.
Yes, the alternate ending.
Mm-hmm. And Lucas Green says it's weird how everything gets sorted out off screen. From what I hear, there was dark ending. Yeah, like Z and K said, and so let's get right into that. After Robin Hood's implied death, which as a kid I always thought the Baloo one was the one of the worst as far as being emotionally impactful, because it that was Mowgli's fucking father figure, dude. That was heartbreaking.
Yep.
This one, it was more kind of okay, even as a kid, I kind of knew Robin was going to get out of it,
Yeah, I know.
But what do you think of King Richard's kind of very, very rushed introduction back into the story at the end?
It is kind of an interesting thing to see. It's obviously at this point, Prince John has no power anymore over the people. And it's like, I told you this would happen, and you destroyed your mother's castle. Ah, mommy. It's and he chases it. And this is the point where when I meant earlier was Prince John's more of a danger to Hiss than he is to Robin Hood.
Sure.
and he's chasing after Prince John.
That's literally the climax of his plot right there. Yeah,
is just chasing after Hiss. It's he's stuck raving mad.
And they also hold on that mad line for an alarmingly long amount of time, yeah. Which I literally just noticed on this last rewatch.
Yeah, it's actually pretty creepy.
It is, right?
And that's literally the last we see of them before they're sent to the rocks. It's so we know he's okay, but we figure they're what is Prince John doing to him?
That was the last time we saw them, though. I kind of feel like they put in that bit with them in the in the rock yard just to ensure that Prince John didn't literally murder Hiss.
Yeah, because it seems like that's exactly what he would have done.
Oh man.
Yep. But of course, Prince John is in the rock yard.
April of last year? How do I not remember that? Jesus Christ, my memory is pathetic.
I'm gonna check on that.
Oh man.
I'm actually gonna check on that. The art of the Disney fake-out death. Yep, there it is.
Do not smoke weed, kids. This is literally living proof of what it does to your memory. Oh, man.
Yep, 1 year ago.
Oh, God. That Z&K, that's honestly legitimately kind of an eye-opener. Oh, God.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't know about that either. But I wasn't even on that one anyway. It was like you and apparently it was you and Dragon.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would do.
But, well, at least now if you watch it, you'll be pleasantly surprised by your own options.
I guess so, right? How long is it?
It's a hour and 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yep. So.
All right. Well,
back to my point. Like, yeah, Prince John kind of does just come in, like, oh hey, look, he's back from his crusades. I mean, to be fair, it's not like it's a total Deus Ex Machina, considering that he's referenced throughout the story and everything. But so it's not a total, even a little example of a Deus Ex Machina. But
I kind of feel like we should have seen at least one scene with him and his brother
before he was basically marrying.
Like we should have seen him sentencing Prince John. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something like that. But then again, maybe it would have been too weird to have like literally like more or less the same voice. I mean, I know the voice is like slightly more distinguished when he's doing Richard, but still.
Yeah, it would have been kind of interesting to see nonetheless.
Also, Jacob with the in-laws line. It's a funny line, but I gotta ask, what exactly is the relationship between Prince John and Maid Marian?
It's not entirely clear. It's like she says it's like implied that he's like an uncle or something to her. But it's like you don't know if it's like an actual uncle, like an honorary uncle kind of thing. Like she might have been adopted into the family. It's not really.
Does anyone in the chat know, like, but not even necessarily in this movie, but just like in general, like with the actual story.
And like in the actual legend, she is like tangentially related to him. I think she's like his like a step niece, or like maybe even his actual niece or something, or like someone she's like related to, married into the family. Like obviously the legend changes as it's told. So
okay.
But like I said, I think that's pretty much what it is.
Got it.
But don't quote me on all that. But and like the legend, I think she comes like from the same house or like the same family as him. Like, and according to the legend, so.
Okay, for sure.
So that might be something what they're going here, but it's not really explained within this movie per se.
I mean, and obviously with them being two different species of animal, that definitely mucks the waters up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go with like uncle, but not uncle by blood.
Like an honorary uncle kind of.
Right. I'm gonna go with that. Or
like adopted uncle.
Yeah. Okay, that's amazing that they got John Rhys Davies as Richard. That design is totally a John Rhys Davies character.
Well, maybe he should. Well, maybe he's dead.
Oh.
Wait, no, he's not. Or is?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's not. Never mind. But
yeah, I was like, wait, what?
I was thinking of somebody else, but
don't kill Sala, Jacob.
I was thinking of someone else, but
okay.
I think I was thinking of somebody else at that point, but like, if anything, like he would be probably King Richard in a remake of these movies. He would be a good one,
and actually have an active role in the story.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, I mean, one of the first roles I pulled up is like him sitting in one of the. I just looked up John Rhys Davies, and one of the pictures is of him sitting in a throne. So I don't know what it's from, but he'd fit right in.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, I think that's about it, right? You got any other things to say?
I mean, not really.
Okay. Well, very good time in the comments here tonight, guys. I was a little worried because it was a Saturday and and I didn't get the stream started as soon as we usually do. But yeah, we have let's see, in the comments we have Little Blue, Code Geass, Z and K, Lucas Green,
LEB.
LEB briefly popped up just to say, what the hell did I just walk into?
Yeah,
So,
which considering that was all the whole Prince John thing, yeah, that's a fair.
But yeah, really appreciate the engagement, guys. It's been a lot of fun. And we will be back next week with the Bugs Life Anniversary podcast, among other things. All right. Have a good night, y'all. See y'all later.
Oo-De-Lally, golly, what a day.
But that's the board box!